Welcome back to Law and Crime, folks. Aaron Keller along with you as we continue to watch the Jessica Chambers murder case out of Mississippi. The judges called an afternoon break. I'm here with two attorneys in our New York studios, Kramer and Rahul Manchanda. Let's break this down and try to make sense of what this last witness was all about. Rahul, let me start with you. Did the prosecution score any points, or did this hurt the state?
I absolutely think it hurt the state. I mean, as we were kind of talking about earlier, she didn't seem very credible. She had a lot of holes in her story, a lot of inconsistencies, or some things are just common sense that she should have known. For example, why can't she identify the passenger? She sat in the car with this person, drove him around, but she can't. So there's a lot of things that really don't ring true and just defy common sense, let alone legal theory. So I think they've got a tough road to go ahead.
Certainly the prosecution is going to try to say that she picked up the defendant, that this fits into a timeline, and yeah, her memory is bad. She didn't know the guy. Ross, certainly it's possible that the prosecution is going to try to go there, but is it going to backfire?
I mean, I think it's a very dangerous road to go down. They didn't close the loop by saying, do you see the person that you picked up in the courtroom? Could you identify him? Are you sure that that's the person you saw? And, they have a very high burden here. It's a burden beyond a reasonable doubt. If you put up a witness whose story is even a little bit off, you inject reasonable doubt through the prosecution's own case. That's a very dangerous strategy.
I agree. And Rahul, let me turn back to you here. Is it better for the prosecution to just not even call this woman?
Absolutely. That's kind of the theory here. I mean, sometimes it helps, sometimes it hurts. I think in this situation, they're really grabbing at straws. Her testimony is not helping the prosecution whatsoever. And I'm coming away with the feeling they're just going to have another go at it, because this is just not going to stick this time around because of that witness. I
mean, certainly the prosecution was worried because this resulted in a mistrial the last time. They want to try to seal up some of the potential gaps from the first trial. The analysis around the table here at Law and Crime, though, is that the prosecution didn't really do it with this witness. Now, certainly the next witness may very well be this Julia Chambers, who apparently is not related to Jessica Chambers, but she was an area hairdresser who apparently may have been the person that this mystery passenger was going to see. We're going to be back with more analysis of the Jessica Chambers murder trial here on Law and Crime when we return. We are going to take a quick break here on the Law and Crime Network, but we're listening to testimony from the daughter of one Julia Chambers. Now, Julia Chambers was mentioned by the previous witness. The previous witness said she picked up an individual who was a young African-American man near the scene where Jessica Chambers' car was set fire along with her body. Now, that was the testimony from the previous witness. The prosecution did not get that witness to make the link that that individual was indeed this defendant, Quentin Tellis. But the bottom line is somebody was hitchhiking, asking for a ride, and that somebody said that he had heard that his Aunt Julia Chambers' house was on fire. Now, this witness is the daughter of that Julia Chambers, and she says Quentin Tellis, this defendant, is a distant cousin. So it makes a link that maybe Quentin Tellis would know the name of this individual, Julia Chambers. Is it a strong enough link for the defendant to be found to be an individual who should be in trouble in this case? Kramer is an attorney. He's here with me on the Law and Crime Network. Rahul Manchanda is along with me here as well. So what do you guys think? Ross, let me start with you. They're trying to make a link that the defendant knows this name, this Julia Chambers, no relation to the victim, but there's a Julia Chambers out there, and the defendant apparently is a distant relation.
I mean, this feels like a very tenuous link, and, prosecutors have two ways to go with these cases. They can stick with less evidence that may be stronger, the text messages that went back and forth, the cell site records, putting him in the area, or they could try to throw more things at the wall and see what sticks. This kind of strategy often backfires because it's ready-made fodder for a defense attorney.
Rahul, let me ask you, what do you think? Is this trying to look for a thread where there is very, very little connecting these people together?
Yeah, I'm surprised and shocked about how badly this is going for the prosecution right now. Just one misstep after another. I mean, I really, Ms. Roussan had talked earlier about how that particular testimony prior was supposed to be the sort of adhesive for, everything to come together. And it's just falling apart in front of us. I mean, I couldn't believe how badly, in my opinion, they're just dropping the ball on this. It's just a massive fumble, and I really see this going the opposite direction. And I didn't really feel that way in the beginning.
Wow,
this
these are harsh words here from our experts around the table at Law&Crime. Look, folks, we're going to take a quick break from our live coverage of the Jessica Chambers case, but we will be back in just a couple of minutes. A reminder, we will stay on the air live tonight here on the Law&Crime Network as long as this case goes. Back after this. We have an ATF expert on the stand now in the Jessica Chambers case. We're going to say goodbye to our guests here, Kramer Rahul Manchanda. Want to ask your final thoughts here before you take off for the evening. Ross, is this going well, or do you stick by your assessment that this is turning into a train wreck for the prosecution?
I think these few witnesses didn't work out. I'm not confident they're going to be able to pull this together. But you remember, there's a lot of very difficult testimony early on. They showed the pictures of this young woman. They showed the first responders. They showed everyone who was so emotional around this. They're going to get to the text messages between them showing the relationship and a potential motive. There's a lot here in this case. The point that I think we were trying to make is sometimes prosecutors, when they have a strong case, don't realize how strong it is and throw in something weak that may go the other way.
Well, look, Rahul, prosecutors thought that they had a strong case the last time around, and it ended in a mistrial because of a hung jury, so it wasn't that strong. You know, prosecutors could have dialed it back and highlighted some pieces of evidence, but here instead they chose to throw everything in, hoping that they could make a connection with at least somebody.
Absolutely. This is a really funny Keystone Cop trial. It almost is. The last questioning, for example, you had raised about speculation. I can name at least 5 different types of objections I would have used for that particular question. It's completely improper.
I was thinking speculation. So you jump and add the other 4.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So again, this is just more of the same. And again, without castigating, I really think there's at least 4 or 5 different types of objections for a question like that. I think this is kind of it's veering off course, and I'm concerned about it because it is the second time. And, it really should get it right the second time, don't you think?
Well, I mean, maybe they will get it right the second time in the defense's eyes. They're going to say, hey, look, the prosecution's really stretching here. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you know better than to try to draw links where there's not a clear link being drawn, and that would be a perfectly acceptable summation here. And
they're putting another question mark out there about someone else who was in this neighborhood, some 19 or 20-year-old who nobody seems to be able to identify. You're in a small town. Everybody knows each other. All of a sudden, some stranger is hitchhiking there. You have a burn victim who says Derek or Eric was responsible. Nobody knows a Derek or Eric. It seems like there's a lot of reasonable doubt here that's coming in through the prosecution's own case.
This will be an interesting case to continue watching. Kramer Rahul Manchanda, I want to appreciate, thank you, I should say, and appreciate your expertise in analyzing what's going on here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you very much.
We're going to take a quick break here on Law&Crime, but we'll be back with more live coverage of this case when we return on the flip side. Stick around.